For now, let's move beyond the presidential election to some of the important ballot initiatives at stake in some states. Legalizing marijuana for recreational use, allowing gay marriage, or in California, raising their own taxes. Yippee! I can't follow all these measures, so let's do what I do when I want to learn whether my freedom's in danger. Turn to Reason magazine. Or even better, the brains behind it. Reason's editor-in-chief, Matt Welch, and Nick Gillespie, who runs Reason TV. So, did freedom win at all?
A little bit. If you look at opportunities that Americans had yesterday to vote in a libertarian direction, they actually took it. They just weren't given that many opportunities. Specifically, the biggest thing by far is the marijuana legalization in Colorado and Washington, which is a huge deal. It's a shot across the bow on drug prohibition, and this is how prohibition is eventually going to end in this country, like alcohol prohibition ended before that.
I didn't know this till you pointed it out. Alcohol prohibition was repealed by some individual states before the feds repealed.
Right. Up to a dozen states, I think, by the end of the prohibition period. New York and other places.
New York did it 3 years into prohibition, and so for 10 years, enforcement was entirely up to the feds.
Right, and some of these cities also, and states lived in pretty open defiance. And when you do that, the federal government actually doesn't have enough guns to enforce this. The vast majority of marijuana arrests are done on the state level. So there aren't enough DEA agents to go into every Colorado pot smoker from now on. So it's going to set up a conflict with the government, and this is how it ends.
Although at the same time, the DEA, one of our reporters called the Drug Enforcement Administration, who was warning people, whoever would listen, that the federal laws are still in force. But in a similar way, the shift to marriage equality in a number of states, places like Maine, Maryland, and Washington.
All right, but let's stay on marijuana just for a moment.
I'm happy to stay on marijuana for as long as
because a state repeals the law doesn't
right.
mean that you're out of trouble. And the Obama administration has raided more than 200 dispensaries, many more than Bush did.
Right.
Twice as many.
Has been god-awful on this, and it was actually the Clinton administration, another Democratic administration, that started raiding medical marijuana dispensaries that became legal under California law.
And Obama has done it even after saying, oh, we're not going to do
Exactly.
this.
And this is a major, major issue because it's not simply about drug legalization, but it's about do the states have the right to set certain policies that affect their residents, or do they always have to kind of give over to whatever the federal government says? There have been other precedents in medical marijuana. The Supreme Court ruled, no, it's the federal laws that matter, but this is another bite at that apple, and it's going to have ramifications far beyond just the marijuana legalization.
And let's keep in mind that 50% of Americans now, for the first time, are in favor of legalizing marijuana. This is moving very, very fast in the direction towards popular support for repeal. So it has to start.
In Colorado, it passed solidly, 55 to 45.
Right.
And in Colorado and Washington, passed solidly.
Right.
And Washington sets THC levels for driving under the influence, which is
that was a very controversial part among the drug legalization or drug reform crowd about that, but it was meant to kind of come up with a way of allaying some people's fear that there's no way to test for how high you are and when you should.
So they're
going
to take your blood if you're in an accident.
Yeah. Well, all of this is, I believe Washington State has about a year to figure out the technical implications of the law or implementation, and Colorado has about 6 months.
And Colorado's governor, a Democrat, opposed this. He said, well, the voters have spoken, and we have to respect their will. I thought the Democrats were for individual freedom. He went on to say, federal law still says marijuana is an illegal drug, so don't break out the Cheetos or goldfish too quickly.
God, they love their stupid pot jokes, don't they? This is a great reminder that you are not going to get any help from politicians on this issue and on a lot of issues in which both parties are terrible. The way to get anything done is to root around politics as usual, use the initiative process when you can, and other kind of technicalities of independence to get stuff done. Democrats have been just as useless as Republicans on this for